Welcome back to the channel, everybody. And I guess we're back. The 2025-26 National Hockey League season is about to get underway in the form of preseason and training camps. As I'm recording this, the Calgary Flames are about to embark upon their main camp for the 25-26 season, with rookie camp already in the rearview mirror. And a lot of stuff's going to happen, and there's a lot of people at camp, as there usually is. And so I thought, as a way to kick off the season content on the channel, let's delve into everyone who will be or should be or could be at training camp, and sort of how the different areas of the roster are shaping up, what battles there are, what spots are available, and kind of how I see things shaking out as we begin things as of mid-September. So, without further ado, let's dive into it, folks. Let's start off with the goaltenders, because this might be the situation that is possibly the least contentious, but also still kind of interesting. So, as of last season, Dustin Wolf is the Flames goalie of the present. He was their goalie of the future, and then he arrived. It turns out he's pretty good. So he's signed to a long-term deal through 2020 or 2033. So he'll be here for a long, long time. And it's good news for the Flames. They have stability in net for the first time since Mika Kaprizov retired. And so the big question mark is, who's going to be his backup? The Flames signed goaltender Ivan Prosvetov out of the KHL. If the name sounds familiar, he's been around the NHL and the AHL a little bit in recent years. Spent some time with the Avalanche and the Coyotes organizations. So he'll be there to potentially be the backup. It'll be between him and Devin Cooley. Cooley came up and joined the Wranglers last year as a free agent, and he was really, really good in the first half of the season, and then he got a concussion, and then when he came back, he just wasn't as good as he was. And, goaltenders is a position where, you got to have confidence, and you got to have your mojo going, and, anyone who's had a concussion or any kind of head injury will tell you that it takes a while, even if you're medically cleared, it takes a while to really feel like yourself again. And, if Devin Cooley's feeling like himself, like we saw in the first half of last season, he can be really, 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 really good. Like, he was probably the American League's best player before Christmas. And then after Christmas, he was a lot less good. And so the question would be, which guy are you going to get? If Cooley is close to what he was last year, this is going to be a hell of a race between him and Prosvetov for who's number two. And so whoever isn't number two will be with the Wranglers, along with one or both of rookies Arseny Sergayev and Owen Say. Both of them were in college last year. Sergayev is a late-round pick that the Flames signed after the Frozen Four. Owen Say is a college free agent the Flames signed after the NCAA playoffs. And so both these guys will probably bounce back and forth, I think, to some degree between the Wranglers and the Rapid City Rush in the Coast. They've also signed Connor Murphy to an American League deal, and Jordan Switzer, I believe, will be in camp as a professional tryout. He'll probably be going back to the Medicine Hat Tigers. So there's probably no controversy for the goaltenders. I think AHL level could be a bit of a churn as Sergayev and Say learn the systems and learn pro hockey. But Wolf is the number one, and it's just a question of who's going to be backing him up. Let's go on to the defense. All right, the blue line group. This is both very set right now and also probably the biggest opportunity for a young player to get into the Flames lineup. So here's the guys as of right now I see as almost definitely opening day guys. Kevin Ball and Rasmus Andersson were a very good tough minutes pairing last season until Rasmus Andersson finds himself wearing another team's jersey. He's on the team, and he'll be in that role. Also, Joel Hanley and Mackenzie Weegar had great chemistry down the stretch last year. You had Ball and Anderson for the tough minutes. Weegar and Hanley got a little bit less tough minutes. Still, second in their lines. They weren't exactly facing fourth liners, but, because they had Ball and Anderson to sort of eat the tough stuff, it gave Weegar and Hanley a bit of room to maneuver. So that's your top four on paper. Braden Pahal, I think, is a lock for the team. He is physical. He kills penalties. He can play a defensive role. He's a right shot who the scuttlebutt was he was starting to figure out how to play the left side. The last game of the season, game 82, he played the left side with Hunter Brustevich in Brustevich's debut. They were pretty good. So, it's going to be one of those things that you probably monitor for a while to sort of see how they go. But, I think you're going to see those 5 guys for sure. I would also put Zane Parekh as an almost lock for the team. He'd be the 6th guy. He has done everything he can do at the Ontario Hockey League level. He was back-to-back 33-goal scorer. He was a 107-point player, the first 3-digit points player as a defenseman in the OHL in over a decade. So, there's nothing left for him to do in the OHL, so he'll be given every chance to make the team. And beyond that, there is 1 job on the team, potentially 2 when/if Anderson is moved elsewhere. And so that's, I think, where the big intrigue lies. Because if you're following the handedness, I just rattled off 4 right shot defensemen for 6 jobs, which means if you're carrying 7, you're probably carrying another lefty, or at least you're carrying someone who has some versatility. And so I would probably single out a couple names for those jobs. The incumbents are obviously Jake Bean and Danil Miramanov. They spent the entirety of last season with the Flames on the NHL roster. I don't think that they're safe. They're not safe in terms of their roster spots are not guaranteed. I would point to 2 guys on the Wranglers, Ilya Solovyov and Yan Kuznetsov, as guys that could take those jobs. Both of them are lefties, Solovyov and Kuznetsov. Bean is also a lefty. Bean did have some chemistry with Pahal down the stretch last year, but Solovyov kills penalties. Kuznetsov kills penalties. They're both really meat and potatoes defensemen. I would argue Solovyov's a little bit more physical, and Kuznetsov is a little bit less physical, but probably a bit more mobile. But they're both, very, really smart, versatile, useful young defensemen that you can put potentially on a pairing with Braden Pahal as your 3rd pair, and you'd be pretty happy with that. And, if the idea is that maybe you're not going to play Zane Parekh every game, so you might want someone you can rotate in and out, they could help with that. Maybe you want someone that could take on a bigger role whenever Rasmus Anderson's situation gets figured out. They could help with that too. So I would put those 4 guys, Bean, Miramanov, Solovyov, and Kuznetsov, sort of in the mix for what's probably 1 roster spot. And whoever is the best of the remainder of those guys, assuming that no one gets claimed on waivers of those 4 guys, they would probably be the next man up whenever Anderson's situation gets figured out. So the defensive group is going to be something that they figure out over time, but I think that's sort of the guys are sort of the locks and your leaders for potential openings. Beyond them, you have Nick Sisek, Hunter Bustevich, Etienne Morin, Jeremy Poirier, and Artem Grushnikov, who are on NHL contracts, who will probably be with the Wranglers. Simon Mack signed an AHL deal after being on a tryout last year. He'll be with the Wranglers. And then you have some guys who are junior players and tryout players. Hurtig and Phillips will be going back to junior, as will Colton Allain, Edward Bondar, and Danil Skvortsov. So you won't have to worry about them on the NHL roster or the AHL roster this year. But the Flames have a pretty deep group. Obviously, this does not include some of the names that are coming up in the farm system from college and in Europe in the next few years. So they're going to have some decisions to make. But as of right now, the big decision they need to make is essentially how are you going to move Zane Parekh in, and who gets the last spot? So that's up for the defensemen. We'll check in on the forwards next. All right, the forwards. There are a lot of guys who probably have jobs close to sewn up heading into the season based on their body of work and their experience level and basically, what roles they fill. I'll just rattle them off right now. Huberdeau, Kadri, Coronado, Zari, Frost, Pospisil, Farabee, Backlund, Coleman, Sharon Govich, and Lomberg. Those guys, I think that's 11 players, probably have safe jobs. Guys who are almost in, but probably need to just do a bit to make sure they have, a clear role. I would say Justin Kirkland as 4th line center and Adam Klapka as sort of your extra forward. Thing I like about Klapka, and I think the thing the Flames like about Klapka, is he can play pretty much anywhere and with anyone. And, he's obviously not a center, but he can play up and down the lineup. And I think that bit of versatility they really like. So if you're doing the math, I just rattled off 13 players who I think have jobs close to sewn up. And that probably doesn't mean that there's a lot of things available, but that's the kind of the fun thing of camp. I don't think anyone necessarily at the beginning of training camp last year went, Sam Honzek's going to make the roster, but sometimes guys get hurt, or sometimes guys just become undeniable. And that's what Hanzik did. So I'll just go through the rest of the guys who are coming to camp and give you some handicapping names to keep in mind for a potential extra forward role that I think could be in the mix. Sam Morton, he's a center. Rory Cairns plays center in the wing for the Wranglers, and he was quite good last year. They're both kind of older, so maybe, if they don't play all the time, they're amongst the older players in the system. And so if they're not playing all the time, if they're, rotating in and out as one of the two extra forwards for the Flames, that might not be the end of the world. They've developed a fair bit, but you got to question, okay, you got to weigh their ice time versus who else could ice time. So those guys, I think, are probably the clubhouse leaders for potential spots. I'd also throw in Dryden Hunt, because Dryden Hunt has been on the NHL roster and was a very useful utility player. He might also be useful to keep on the farm and mentor kids, which might be a consideration. I'll also throw in Sam Hanzik, who really impressed in rookie camp, and he was good enough to make the team a year ago. And so you might want to bring him up to start just to sort of see his progress, but he's also 20 and you might want to get him to play a bunch. Other guys to keep an eye on that might not necessarily be in the mix for roster spots right away, but if guys get hurt or guys get potentially moved down the stretch, guys to keep an eye on. No particular order: Carter King, Matt Gridden, William Stromgren, Andrew Basha, Lucas Siona, Idar Suniev, Clark Bishop, Parker Bell. Those guys are all going to be in the pro system this year. Jacob Lataglia has an NHL contract, but he's going to be heading back to junior just because he's not old enough to play in the AHL. And to be honest, he's going to probably go down to Kingston and have a very good offensive season based on last year. Guys signed to AHL deals are David Sillier, Martin Furk, Carter Wilkie, and Alex Gallant. They won't be in the NHL, but I think especially Furk will be a pretty productive, useful player to help out the young guys and for the Wranglers during the coming season. Hunter Lang's headed back to junior, and tryout players who are going to be heading back to junior before too long are Mel Levine, Nathan Brisson, and Caden McCann. So, kind of like the defensive group, there's not a lot of spots available necessarily. I think there's some spots in flux, but I also think, they're going to have at least one spot that's available for opening night. And you do have the potential where, let's not be mean here, but Justin Kirkland's coming off a significant injury. Maybe he gets outplayed by someone in camp, and someone like Sam Morton comes in and is undeniable and takes that fourth line center spot. So there's no guarantees that that's why I'm saying him and Kirkland and Klapka specifically don't necessarily have opening night spots sewn up, simply because there are guys that you could put in the press box or put in the minors, depending how worried you are about waivers. But if you look at a lot of the names we rattled off for the farm team, I mean, you have a couple first round picks. You have some guys that were very high draft picks and really well regarded. Basha played in the Memorial Cup last year and helped Medicine Hat win a Western League championship. Suniev had a really good college season and then went pro. Sam Morton, really, really strong year with the Wranglers, and he made his NHL debut. I think there's a lot of players on here among the forwards group that might not necessarily start the year with the Flames, but, the Flames have been exceptionally lucky, with a few exceptions. Connor Zary got hurt twice last season, but, for the most part, they've been really, really lucky with not losing significant pieces of their lineup to long-term significant injuries. And, they've had the benefit of that as they've built up some depth in their system. And, luck doesn't last forever. And I think if you're the Flames, you look at the depth you have beyond your NHL group, and you probably feel pretty good about it. So that's sort of how the battles and stuff are shaping up. The preseason begins on Sunday, September the 21st. The Flames have their annual split squad game against the Edmonton Oilers. They will play a game in Edmonton, and they will play a game in Calgary. The Flames site, I believe, will be streaming every preseason game except for the split squad game in Edmonton. I believe that's It's an NHL rights thing. I never understand how it works, but I've been told they won't do the Edmonton game in Edmonton, but they will do Calgary-Edmonton in Calgary on the 21st. After that, then they host the Seattle Kraken on September 23rd. The next day, they head off to Abbotsford to visit the Vancouver Canucks. Then on the 27th, they go to Winnipeg to face the Winnipeg Jets. The 29th, they go to Seattle to face the Kraken. And then they're back home for the last two, October 1st against Vancouver and October 3rd against Winnipeg. And then they got to be down to a cap-compliant 23-man roster as of 3 p.m. Mountain Time on October the 6th, which is the Monday. So if you're looking ahead, most likely you're going to see some cuts after that Abbotsford game. The Wranglers will get going towards the end of the month. So the first probably big group of cuts you're going to get will be after the Abbotsford game, just to sort of bring it down to sort of a manageable group. The guys who are definitely going to going to the Wranglers will probably be sent down at that point. Some other guys will probably be sent down after that Winnipeg game, sort of in between the Winnipeg and Seattle games. And then once you hit October, you're probably going to be into a pretty manageable group because the Flames will want to really get down to brass tacks with their systems and reinforce some things. And my guess is they're going to be trying to integrate those two new full-time members of their coaching staff, with Trent Cull and Dave Lowry joining the Flames coaching staff full-time. So they've got some work to do, and they have high expectations this year. And their goal, I know some folks want them to be a basement dwelling team so they can get a high draft pick. I don't think that's in the cards. That's just not what they want to be doing. And so they're trying to make the playoffs and then use those experiences from a playoff push and whatever experience they get in the playoffs to help nudge the kids along and help improve the team year over year. So, it's a journey of 1,000 steps, begins with a single one. And this journey for them, however it ends at the end of the season, begins with the preseason and training camp. So things will get going on the 21st, and hopefully it's a lot of fun. Before then, we'll have some content, hopefully from Flames training camp before preseason. But in the interim, thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, please click the like button. If you really like this video, please click the subscribe button. And as always, if you have comments, queries, suggestions for future videos, throw them in the comments. Always look forward to reading the comments and the fun suggestions you guys make, because they've turned into some fun videos. So that's all I got for now. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.